This is lesson 2 of week 3. My name is Mildred and I remain your instructor for this course. In this lesson, we are going to discuss hyperlinks and display. In the last lesson, we created new files and folders and we learned how to reference our files properly. Now in this lesson, we are going to build upon that and we are going to use the files that we created in the last lesson. We have the about.html file, the contacts.html file, and the login.html file in the pages folder. Now, when visitors visit your web page, the welcome page is always the index.html file. It is usually the landing page and it exists in the root of the project. So all other files for this project are stored in the pages folder. But we want a way that we can jump from the index page to the other pages without having to change the address in the URL. Now we can do this with navigation bars, but we want to, for the purpose of this lesson, use hyperlinks. I am going to delete the text on the screen and we're going to write our code here. Hyperlinks are used to jump from one page to another, or from one document to another, or from one site to another. In HTML, we write hyperlinks using the anchor tag written A. It has a close tag. It is between the start and the end anchor tag that you write the text that the users are going to see and click on. So I want the users to see about here, and I want them to see login. I will save this and let us take a look at the web page. So we have about, contact, login. We want to make these links clickable. There are two attributes that the anchor tag takes. The first one is the href attribute, and we use this href attribute to specify the file or the address we want this link to take users to. I want this to go to the about page. Now remember the file referencing. The about page is in the pages folder and it is about.html. The contact page is in the pages folder and it is named contact.html. And the login page is in the pages folder and it is named login.html. When I save this and I refresh my page, I have my 3 links and I can move from one link to another. So I don't have my login file. So let's see what the problem is. So I have login.html, but I didn't reference the file properly. Without the correct referencing, you will always get that error. So I'll go to my login page. So we have hyperlinks to help us to jump from one page to another. Now notice that by default, hyperlinks are underlined and we can use CSS to change the style of hyperlinks. When they are clicked or when they have been visited, it is purple. Before you visit them, they are blue. And when they are active, they are red. These are the default colors and style of hyperlinks. So as we go on, we are going to use CSS to change the styles of the links. The second attribute that this takes is the target attribute. And this only tells you or tells the browser where to open the link. If you want it to open it in a new browser window, you use _blank. The default is _self. You either specify, and if you don't specify, it opens in the same browser window. You have parent, which just means that if this is in a frame, it opens in the parent frame, and the top also opens in the entire body of the window. So we are going to use blank. I will save this. When I refresh my page, I click on the about, it opens on the new browser window rather than open on the same browser window. Now let's style the anchor tag. I'll go to my main.css file and I'll put a style for the A tag. The property to use to remove underline is the text decoration property, and I'll set it to none. And when I save this, and I go back to my index page and I refresh, I don't have the links underlined anymore. We can change the color and other characteristics of the tag using CSS, but for now we'll just remove the line, and when we get to week 9 and we get to pseudo classes, we are going to use pseudo class to change colors and appearance of our link. This brings us to displays. In HTML, there are 2 types of displays for elements. Notice that sometimes you write a text on the page and it starts on a new line. If I use my H1 tag, my first web page, I close my tag, the next element starts on a new line. These are called block level elements. Block level elements takes up the entire width of that line. We have inline elements, which is like the anchor tag, that only takes as much space as is needed, and the next anchor doesn't start on a new line. You can change these characteristics by changing the default display of the anchor tag from inline to block. And we have a property in CSS called display, and I'll change it to block. And once I change this to a block level element and I refresh my page, every time I use the anchor tag, it starts on a new line. There are also instances where you have a web page with a lot of information and the users have to scroll and scroll to get information. We have something called a bookmark hyperlink that we can use. To write bookmark hyperlinks, you can use the ID attribute that we discussed previously. You will specify the ID attribute on the start of that paragraph or the heading of the section of the document where the users want to jump to. For instance, let's say I have a P tag here. This is a paragraph, and I'll put the ID attribute equal to about. And let's say this about is a whole long text, so I'll write my text here. I have another P tag that takes the same text. I'll put ID equal to contact, and I'll put my text. And I have another P tag, and I'll put ID equal to mission, and let me make this my mission statement. I'll save this, refresh my web page. I have a lot of text on the page and I'll have to scroll to get to different paragraphs. Let's make this easier. At the beginning of each paragraph, I'm going to put a heading. So let me put heading level 3. I'll put a mission statement, and let me put my ID here, and I'll delete it from here. I'll do the same for the second paragraph here. I'll put a heading here, and I'll close H3. So I'll do the same thing for the first paragraph, H3, ID equal to about, close H3. I'll save this. Once you have created your page and you use the ID attribute with a value, which can be any name you want, you come to the anchor tag, and instead of using your href to an external file, you put the # or the number sign and the name or the value of the ID attribute. So this should link to the about section of the page. So I'm going to put hash contact. I'll remove this target attribute, and this also will be hash mission. I'll save this. I have the long text on the page with the different headings, but we don't want users to keep scrolling. I just want to go to the contact. When I click on this, it takes me directly to the contact. Now this is a mission statement, and let me just write mission statement here. Refresh my page back, and when I go back to the page, I scroll up, I will click on mission statement, and it takes me directly to the section of the page that is mission statement. So you can have your anchor tag linking to a section of the document on the same page using a bookmark link, or you can link to an external source. So this is where we end this lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to look at HTML and CSS lists.